Hey guys, it's Miss Burnett here. These are our dividing fractions notes that we're going to take. We're taking them as a whole group on Tuesday, but I'm doing this video in case anybody needs to rewatch it or they miss class, okay? So my previous video talked about dividing fractions with models and how you can use fraction strips to kind of visualize how we can group fractions. But what I want to do now is show you how to divide fractions using an algorithm, okay? So write this down in your notebook. This should be a notebook entry. If you haven't already, the other thing that you need to do is add dividing fractions to your table of contents. All right, so when you open up Blue Group, we started with operations of decimals. You need to write a 2 and then write division of fractions or dividing fractions, either one. And then write down the page that you start on. All right, so like I'm starting on page 12, so I would write like page 12 or page 8 or whatever it is. All right, and then dividing fractions, write the learning target. All right, and remember you can always pause this video and restart it as needed if I go too fast. All right, our learning target is I can fluently divide fractions, mixed numbers, and whole numbers. And fluently kind of alludes to like you're doing it without a calculator, okay? So the first thing we need to know before we start jumping into dividing fractions is what a reciprocal is. And this is a really important definition for 6th grade, especially if you're going to be jumping into 7th grade math shortly, which we will be. We really need to know what this is. So reciprocal just means you flip the numerator and denominator of a fraction. And the product of a number and its reciprocal is 1. And remember, product means multiplication. Okay, so example, and you need to write all of this down. The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2 over 1. And if I took 1/2 and multiplied it times 2 over 1, I get 1. And that's technically the definition of a reciprocal, is that when you multiply a number, 1/2, by its reciprocal, 2 over 1, you get the number 1. Okay? 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 over 2 equals 1. Okay? So what I want you to do right now is practice. Okay? So here are 3 fractions. I want you to practice finding the reciprocal for those fractions. So take a second to jot those down. All right, pause the computer if you need to. All right, the reciprocal of 3/4, you just flip them. It's 4 over 3. I don't put an equal sign, all right, because 3/4 does not equal 4 over 3. I'm just using the arrow to show that that's what the reciprocal is, okay? All right, the reciprocal of 2/5, 5 over 2. Now, when you get into mixed numbers, a common mistake that I've had kids make in the past is that they keep the whole number and then they just flip the fraction. All right, and that won't work, unfortunately, okay? You can't just flip the fraction and then say it's the reciprocal. It doesn't work, all right? I bet you know what you have to do. You've got to convert it into an improper fraction, then you can flip it, okay? So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5, and then I'm going to keep the 3 as my denominator. Now, I've converted it to an improper fraction. Now, I can flip it. And the reciprocal is 3/5. All right, the last one over here is 4. Remember, the 4 as a fraction is 4 over 1. So then when you flip it, you would get 1/4. Okay. All right, moving on. On the next page, we're going to write down, all right, to divide fractions, you just multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so if it is and I'm going to do a couple of examples, okay, and I want you to do them with me. You can pause the computer as much as you want, okay? When you have a division or fraction problems, all right, because when you multiply a number by its reciprocal, because you'll always get 1, instead of dividing by a number, you can multiply by the reciprocal of that number, okay? So let me show you what I mean. 2/3 would stay the same. I'm going to change it into a multiplication problem, and I'm going to do the reciprocal of the second fraction. So 3/5 will become 5/3. Okay? Now, if you don't remember the trick for multiplying, not trick, but the way you multiply fractions, you literally just multiply straight across. Okay? 2 times 5 is 10, and 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? When you get a fraction that's either not simplified or it's an improper fraction, I do want it converted, either to simplest terms or to back into a mixed number, okay? So when I look at this, I know 9 goes into 10 one time. 1 is my whole number because 9 goes into 10 one time. If I had 10 bottles of Coke, I could make one group of 9, okay? If I made one group of 9, how many would I have left over from my group of 10? That's your numerator, so I'd have 1 left over, and then 9 is the denominator, okay? I have a lot of kids that this is simple for them. They're fine with this, but they really struggle more with this step right here, okay? And if that's you, that's okay. We'll just keep practicing, okay? And we'll get better at it. Let's try this one. This time I have a whole number divided by 2/5. Whenever we're working on these types of problems and you have a whole number, the first thing I want you to do is change that whole number into a fraction by adding a 1 under it, all right? So 5 becomes 5/1. And even if it's over here on this side, same thing. Even if it's the divisor, I still want it treated as a fraction, so you'll need to put a 1 under the whole number, okay? Change the symbol to multiplication, and then do the reciprocal of the divisor. So 2/5 would become 5/2. And then you just multiply straight across. 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, I'd love to see that converted back to a mixed number, okay? Another way that I've seen some people do it that really helps them, so I want to show you multiple strategies, is to turn it into a long division problem, all right? And I'm going to show you how you can take it from a long division problem to a fraction. 2 goes into 2 one time. 1 times 2 is 2. I'll do my subtraction, bring down my 5. 2 goes into 5 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I'm going to add a decimal. Well, actually, you don't need a decimal because we're going to make it into a fraction. I almost got in the habit of using a decimal and making a decimal problem. Okay, when you get to this point right here, all right, you have a remainder. The remainder becomes your numerator. So 1 would be my numerator, and whatever your divisor is your denominator. All right, so 12 1/2. Maybe we'll do some more practice with that in class. That's a really good skill to have. Okay, but whatever your remainder is, it becomes your numerator right there, and your denominator is whatever that divisor was. Okay. All right, last example. 7/8 divided by 1 1/3. So I always tell people the first thing I want you to do is convert that into an improper fraction. All right. I can't work with it like this. I've got to have it in improper fraction form. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 1 is 4. And then you keep 3 as the denominator, okay? So now when you write out your problem, I'm going to write it over here a little more. I'll keep the first fraction, 7/8, change it to multiplication, but when I do the reciprocal, I want the reciprocal of this number right here. All right, so the reciprocal becomes 3 over 4 because I flipped the 4/3. Now just multiply straight across. 7 times 3 is 21, and 8 times 4 is 32. It does not appear that that can be simplified. I think that this fraction is in lowest terms. I don't think it can go any lower, okay? All right, we'll do some more examples in class, and we'll practice this today and Friday, all right, to get better at it. But make sure you have these notes down in your notebook, and then also jot down any questions you have that you can ask me later, and I can help you with. All right, have a great day. Bye, guys.